Hello, and welcome back to May's Motel. Eddie and I recently saw the new Suicide Squad movie, and I have to say that I loved it a lot more than I was expecting to.
It was really good.
I was already looking forward to it because Sylvester Stallone voices King Shark, and I love Sly from the Rocky movies.
Hmm.
But I enjoyed the movie overall, with its hilarious jokes and banter and the extreme violence. Before we begin, I'm going to give a slight spoiler warning for all the film and comic references, and also for the Suicide Squad films.
Ooh, spoilers.
The Suicide Squad was released on August 6, 2021, both in theaters and on HBO Max. We saw it in IMAX. It follows supervillains Harley Quinn, Bloodsport, Peacemaker, Polkadot Man, Ratcatcher II, and King Shark as they are sent on a mission to the island nation of Corto Maltese by intelligence officer Amanda Waller. Their objective is to destroy Jotunheim, a Nazi-era laboratory that holds the secret experiment known as Project Starfish. Originally, 2 teams are sent out, but it seems Team 1 was merely a diversion for Team 2 to continue on with the mission. Harley Quinn was on Team 1, but she survived and helped Team 2 later on. Unfortunately, this is not a movie review, so I'm not going to go into too much about the movie itself. I highly recommend you go see it for yourself. It won't disappoint. In this episode, I want to focus on the characters' backgrounds, from the comic books to their film adaptations. Let's begin with the infamous Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn was created by Paul Dini and Bruce Timm for the Batman animated series in 1992. She appeared in the episode Joker's Favor, and she was created with the intent of only being featured in one episode. However, as Dini was putting together the story for the episode, he decided that the Joker needed a female henchperson. Therefore, she was in much more than just that single episode. Harley is based on a roller skating jester that appeared in a dream sequence on the show Days of Our Lives. That character was played by one of Dini's college friends, Arlene Sorkin. Many aspects of Sorkin's personality were incorporated into Harley Quinn's character, and Sorkin even voiced Harley for the series.
That's really cool.
Dini made Harley Jewish, similar to Sorkin, so when Sorkin was voicing the character, she spoke in her normal Brooklyn accent while adding a little Yiddish sound to it. Harley Quinn was also inspired by another mutual friend's stormy but non-violent relationship. The name Harley Quinn is a play on Harlequin, who was a stock character from the 16th century Italian physical comedy theater Commedia dell'arte.
Sounds fancy.
The original character design came from the Harlequin gear from the comedy theater. The jester hat, ruffled collar, and diamond pattern from the Harlequin were put onto a red and black bodysuit for Harley. Dini was satisfied with the outcome of the character they had created, and he wanted to continue featuring her in more episodes, but Tim and another producer, Alan Burnett, were hesitant because they worried that giving the Joker a girlfriend played more towards his comedic side and would humanize him too much, which was not the vision that they had for the Joker. Nevertheless, Harley appeared in another episode and became the Joker's love interest. She gained popularity with fans, being featured in even more episodes and even starring in her own episode. Because she was gaining so much popularity from the Batman animated series, she was adapted into DC's comic books. She made her comic book debut in the 12th issue of the Batman Adventures. In February of 1994, the Batman Adventures Mad Love was released, which recounted Harley's origin story. Harley Quinn was a former psychiatrist named Harleen Quinzel, who fell in love with the Joker while she was an intern at Gotham City's Arkham Asylum. Harleen interviewed the Joker multiple times, learning about his childhood and his rivalry with Batman. After the interviews, she determined Batman was the source for his anger, but she also realized that she had fallen in love with him. She helps the Joker escape and becomes his sidekick, hoping to win his love along the way. So she decides to use one of the Joker's unused plans of capturing Batman and feeding him to a school of piranhas.
Uh-oh.
Batman tells Harleen that the Joker is just using her, and he convinces her to call him so he can see when she accomplished her goal of killing Batman.
I remember that episode.
How was it to actually see it?
It was cool. I mean, you can still probably go back and watch them on, I think, HBO.
When the Joker arrived, he is furious with her for trying to rob him of the privilege to kill Batman, so he pushes her out of a window. The Joker uses this opportunity to kill Batman himself, which ensues in a chase between the two. Batman taunts him, saying Harley came closer to killing him than the Joker ever had. Back at Arkham Asylum, Harley decides that she wants nothing to do with the Joker, and she wants to leave Arkham for good. However, she receives flowers and a get-well-soon card from the Joker, and she falls in love with him all over again. In September of 2011, Harley Quinn is reintroduced by Adam Glass as a member of the supervillain team Task Force X in the relaunched Suicide Squad. Her appearance was modified, with her jester costume being replaced with a corset and shorts. Her skin was bleached white, and her hair was altered to being half red and half black. Her personality became more violent and psychopathic. In this series, Harley was separated from the Joker in order to explore her becoming her own person. The Suicide Squad became her family. In the 7th issue of the Suicide Squad, Harley's origin story was revised. In this story, the Joker took Harleen Quinzel to the chemical plant, where he had originated from, and pushed her into a vat of chemicals against her will. Her skin was bleached and she went insane, similar to the Joker's transformation in his origin story. Fans of Harley Quinn did not like this revision because they felt that it was a removal of Harleen's choice to become the Joker's accomplice herself, and that was an essential part of her character. Harley Quinn is played by Margot Robbie in the latest adaptation. Her version of Harley Quinn debuted in the 2016 Suicide Squad film, and she appeared in the 2020 spin-off film Birds of Prey, before returning in the new Suicide Squad film. Harley Quinn has become one of DC Comics' most popular characters. She is DC's most prominent and profitable female character. In 2016, Harley Quinn was ranked as the most popular Halloween costume in both the United States and the United Kingdom.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
It is really weird to see all the little girls dressed up as her.
Oh, definitely. Harley Quinn also has her own show on HBO Max. It's an animated series.
I didn't see that. What is it called?
I think it's called Harley Quinn.
Oh,
I
okay.
think that's what it's called.
Now on to Bloodsport. Bloodsport is an alias used by several supervillains, but the most notable incarnation was Robert Dubois. Robert Dubois is a Vietnam draft evader who had a mental breakdown and became obsessed with the Vietnam War after he learned that his brother had gone to serve in his place. After receiving his induction notice, he fled to Canada, not because he was opposed to the war, but because he was afraid of dying. His younger brother reported for induction, passing himself off to be his brother, and he was sent into combat in Vietnam, where he lost both of his arms and legs. After learning that his brother had lost his limbs from going to war when he was supposed to, he became insane with guilt. Robert was later contacted by people who were employed by Lex Luthor because he was searching for a pawn to assassinate Superman.
Okay.
Operatives of Luthor used Dubois' guilt and obsession towards the Vietnam War in order to condition him psychologically to want to kill Superman himself. Dubois went into action in Metropolis under the name Bloodsport, and he claimed that he had also served in combat in Vietnam alongside his brother, and that they were both injured there. He said that the citizens of Metropolis wasted the freedom that he claimed he helped to defend, so he indiscriminately slaughtered dozens of innocent people. He clashed with Superman, weakening him with a kryptonite bullet. Superman received medical aid and confronted Bloodsport again. Luthor was also angry with Bloodsport for murdering so many people because it would attract more attention to the assault of Superman, so Luthor tried to stop Bloodsport. Bloodsport had a teleportation device he used to bring weapons to himself, but Superman successfully caused it to malfunction. Bloodsport threatened to detonate his teleporter's power pack, which would blow up 10 square miles of the city. However, Jimmy Olsen, Superman's friend, discovered Bloodsport's true identity and located his brother. Bloodsport was confronted by his brother, and he collapsed in grief before being taken into custody.
Oh, dang.
Bloodsport is a quick and accurate shooter. He is an ambidextrous marksman and can fire without any loss of accuracy or speed. He has a significant level of manic strength and intensity. In the new Suicide Squad film, Robert Dubois is a British mercenary played by...
Idris Elba?
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name. He is armed with a high-tech suit and weapons that only he can use. He is serving time in prison for shooting Superman with a kryptonite bullet. And now let's get on to Peacemaker, Eddie's favorite character.
In the new Suicide Squad movie.
The Peacemaker first appeared as a backup series in Fight in 5. However, that comic series was canceled, so Peacemaker received his own title that lasted 5 issues in 1967. Christopher Smith is a pacifist diplomat that is so committed to peace he is willing to use force as a superhero to advance the cause. He uses non-lethal weapons and he founded the Pax Institute. Most of his villains are dictators and warlords. Smith learns that his ways of implementing peace through violence was a result of mental illness that was brought on by the shame of his father being a Nazi death camp commandant. He becomes a deadly vigilante who would kill anyone at the slightest notice, and he believes that the ghosts of the people he killed are collected inside his helmet, and they offer him advice and commentary.
Oh, whoa.
At one point, the Peacemaker serves as a U.S. government agent under Checkmate, a special forces unit that hunts down terrorists. He crashes a helicopter to destroy tanks that were controlled by Eclipso, and he is reported dead. His soul shows up in the realm of Purgatory in the Day of Judgment series. Peacemaker is portrayed by John Cena in the new Suicide Squad film. He uses deadly, technologically advanced weaponry and wears bulletproof body armor. His silver helmet is capable of emitting ultrasonic frequencies, and it contains long-range sensors to detect hostile forces in the area.
Oh, wow. I didn't know all that.
Yeah, I didn't notice it in the movie at all. An HBO Max series following John Cena's Peacemaker is set to be released in January of next year.
That's cool.
And now on to Rick Flagg. Rick Flagg is actually the name of 3 separate characters. Richard Montgomery Flagg led a division in World War II called the Suicide Squadron. Flagg was the only survivor in his first mission. After that first mission, his team enjoyed increasing success and decreasing casualties. After the war, he married Sharon Race. In 1951, after the disappearance of many superheroes, President Harry S. Truman called for Flagg when he created Task Force X. Task Force X had 2 units, the military unit called Argent and the civilian unit called Suicide Squad. Argent's activity ceased in 1960, however, Suicide Squad continued on. Eventually, Flagg sacrificed himself to stop the war wheel. Flagg was then replaced by his son, Richard Rogers Flagg, in the Suicide Squad. Rick Flagg Jr. headed a new team, and in one tragic mission in Cambodia, they were pursued by a Yeti. The team consisted of Flagg's girlfriend, Karen Grace, Dr. Hugh Evans, and Jess Bright. Evans, Bright, and the Yeti fell into a crevice, presumably to their deaths. Bright actually survived, however, and he was rescued by the Chinese, who nursed him back to health, and then he was passed on to the Russians, who turned him into Koschei the Deathless. Flagg's girlfriend secretly gave birth to his child and gave the child to an adoptive family. Later, Rick was sent to infiltrate the Forgotten Heroes as a spy for the government, but after the death of their leader, the team disbanded and Flagg worked covertly for the U.S. government. He was then brought on by the government to lead the new Suicide Squad, led by Amanda Waller. Flagg hated having criminals under his command. However, he still showed loyalty towards his teammates and Waller. Flagg's mental instability worsened over time, and nothing was done to help him.
Oh, no.
Flagg led another mission with a different squad that involved the Doom Patrol, and he was the only survivor. The death of his girlfriend and a threat from the U.S. Senator to reveal the existence of the Suicide Squad to the public added on to his worsening mental instability. Flagg went out to stop the Senator's threat without knowing that Amanda Waller had already dealt with it. Flagg set out with the Suicide Squad to assassinate the Senator, while the squad was told to stop him with the clearance to do it with any means necessary. The villain Deadshot found Flagg, and the Senator was killed. Flagg managed to flee, and the Suicide Squad's existence was still revealed. After Flagg's death, he appeared in an issue of Captain Atom, where his soul was saved from purgatory and he was reunited with his girlfriend in paradise. Rick Flagg III was introduced in Suicide Squad number 50. He was kidnapped by Koschei the Darkness, the survivor from Rick Flagg Jr.'s Cambodia mission. He was luckily rescued by Nemesis from the Suicide Squad. In the 2 latest Suicide Squad movies, Rick Flagg is played by Joel Kinnaman. He is a special forces officer hired by Amanda Waller to watch over June Moon, and is later tasked to lead the Suicide Squad in field missions. In Suicide Squad, the first film, his motive is to free June Moon from the ancient goddess Enchantress. Waller is captured by Enchantress's army, and Deadshot confronts Flagg about the mission details, in which Flagg then relieves the squad from their duties while he continues on. However, the squad eventually decides to stay and help him. In the fight with Enchantress, Flagg arms a bomb and Killer Croc throws it towards Enchantress's machine, while Deadshot shoots at it and causes it to explode. He threatens Enchantress to release June, but she mocks him and refuses. He is forced to crush the heart, which kills Enchantress, and seemingly June as well. June survives, however, and they are reunited. In the sequel, Flagg is tasked with leading his Task Force X team to destroy Jotunheim, but everyone in his team is killed except for himself and Harley Quinn. Flagg is rescued by Waller's second team, and they embark on a mission to save Harley before continuing on to Jotunheim. The Thinker reveals that the American government had been secretly funding the experiments at Corto Maltese for decades. Flagg wants to reveal this information to the public, but Peacemaker is revealed to be a secret mole to destroy the hard drive containing the information, so he attacks Flagg, eventually killing him.
That was a lot to follow.
Yeah, sorry, it's all 3 different characters. And now my favorite character from the movie, King Shark. Nanaue was born in Hawaii as a humanoid shark. His father is the shark god. King Shark was responsible for multiple missing people before Superboy arrived in Hawaii. He was captured by Sam Makoa, but was freed by the Silicon Dragons. The Silicon Dragons want to hire him, but Nanaue was not interested, so he killed them before going home to his mother. Superboy takes Nanaue down with his heat vision and is then forced to help Superboy and Makoa take down the Silicon Dragons. An explosive belt is attached to him and is set to detonate if anything were to happen to Makoa. The Silicon Dragon's lair is destroyed, and King Shark's belt goes off, but he survives the blast. A research team was sent to investigate the lair's remains, but they went missing, and King Shark is suspected of taking or killing them. However, it turns out to be Black Manta that was responsible. King Shark then fought Superboy, but he was defeated and driven back out to sea. He joined Manchester Black's Legion of Villains. He also made an appearance during the Joker's Last Laugh riot with Orca. He is later recruited by Alexander Luthor's Secret Society of Supervillains, and is sent to attack the aquatic civilization Sub Diego. During this battle, he kills Neptune Perkins. 1 year after the Infinite Crisis, King Shark reappears bearing a scar from an encounter with Aquaman. King Shark's flesh provides protection against deep and physical attacks. His shark-like teeth and claws are used as weapons, and his gills allow him to breathe underwater. He can swim at great speeds, and he is resistant to the cold. He has great strength and endurance, and he can regenerate lost bodily tissue.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Sylvester Stallone voices Nanaue in the Suicide Squad film, and I have to admit, I found him more cute than scary. He is a vicious character eating humans whole, but at the same time, he's cute and somewhat innocent. He speaks with few words, almost like a child. He is easily influenced by the rest of the group, following what they say or do. I found myself getting scared every time Nanaue was in danger and getting seriously injured, but luckily he survived every attack against him. I would have been very upset with you, James Gunn, if you killed my poor Sharky boy. We're getting closer to the end now, bear with me. There's a lot of characters. The second to last character is Polkadot Man. Polkadot Man first appeared in Detective Comics number 300. Shortly after Batman appeared in Gotham City, this sparked an entire generation of costumed rogues to attract Batman's attention in the hopes of matching wits with him.
Did you know that's what DC stands for?
What?
Detective Comics.
No, I did not.
That's why it's DC.
Abner Krill, going by Mr. Polkadot, wore a costume covered in spots that served as creating deadly weapons and even a bizarre escape vehicle once removed from the costume. He came into conflict with Batman and Robin and was able to capture Robin, but was then defeated by Batman. Years later, Krill began going by Polkadot Man after he was once again driven to crime after finding himself unemployed and desperate to pay his bills. He could no longer afford his original costume, so he resorted to using a baseball bat in a poor attempt to rob a jewelry store. He was beaten badly by Detective Harvey Bullock, who was sick of all the costumed villains running around the city. Krill filed a brutality suit against the police department, and Detective Bullock was forced to see a psychiatrist. After Krill's recovery from the beating, he became an alcoholic, finding himself spending more time in bars than troubling Batman. He later began being known as Mr. Polkadot again, and reappeared with a new look, joining a group of villains working for General Immortus. Their powers and gadgets were upgraded by Professor Milo. The human flame killed most of the group in a brutal battle. Mr. Polkadot died when his head was crushed from a manhole cover landing on it.
Oh, dang.
Polkadot Man had many gimmick dots that he used for weapons. The flying buzzsaw dot was a red polka dot designed as a projectile. The flying saucer dot was a yellow polka dot that expanded into a glider. The sun dot was a gold polka dot designed as another projectile. The bubble dot was a white polka dot that expanded into a translucent capsule capable of flight. The fist dots are red, yellow, and orange dots designed as more projectiles. And the whole dot was a black polka dot that opened up to be a teleportation transport system. In the new Suicide Squad film, Polkadot Man is portrayed by David Dalsmalchian as an awkward character haunted by his mother. Whenever he kills, he envisions those people to be his mother. He also says that his mother was obsessed with turning her children into superheroes as she was a scientist at Star Labs. Some of his siblings died as a result of his mother's experiments. He also gets rashes where his skin breaks out in puffy polka dots, and he says he has to expel them from his body twice a day, or the virus that he was infected with will begin eating him from within. And finally, my second favorite character, Ratcatcher II. In the film, she is revealed to be the daughter of Ratcatcher. The original Ratcatcher was Otis Flanagan. He was a rat catcher in the Gotham City Sanitation Department, and he claimed that he could train the rats to attack. He has an in-depth knowledge of Gotham's sewer systems and the layout of Blackgate Penitentiary, which comes in handy to smuggle items in and out of the prison with the help of his rats. He also wields a gas gun and can manipulate things with cyanide gas. Flanagan was arrested and spent 10 years in prison after stabbing a man to death in a street fight. After he was released from the Gotham State Penitentiary, Flanagan kidnapped the 4 officials that were responsible for his arrest. He took them to his hideout in the sewers where he kept them for 5 years. During this period is when he created his criminal alter ego as Ratcatcher. He wore protective equipment and trained rats to torture and restrain his prisoners. After being held captive for 5 years, one of the prisoners managed to escape, but the Ratcatcher sent his army of rats to kill him. The man was killed before reaching the surface, and his body was found by Batman. Batman followed the rats back to Ratcatcher's hideout, and he was forced to face the Dark Knight. Batman got rid of all the rats, and Flanagan was left outmatched, which led him to be brought to the authorities once again. After spending more time in prison, Flanagan escaped his parole hearing by carving a flute to control rats at high-pitched frequency. When Infinite Crisis began, Ratcatcher was protected by his rats and the homeless community. Ratcatcher II was played by Daniela Melchior in the Suicide Squad. She was born in Portugal. She turned to a life of crime with her father's guidance, and she was aided by rats that she could also communicate with and control. In flashback scenes, we see that her father struggles with drug addiction, which ultimately leads to his death. Throughout her life, before her father died, he taught her how to use his gadgets to control the rats. She used the rats to bring her things that they stole, and they protected them on cold winter nights. When her father died, She continued living on the streets with the rats until adulthood. She traveled to the United States in search of the American dream. She continued following in her father's footsteps, calling herself Ratcatcher II, and evading the police as she committed various crimes. She grew very fond of a specific rat who was named Sebastian, and treated him as a pet. Unfortunately, she was caught by law enforcement after robbing a bank, and was sent to Bellerive, where she became a member of Task Force X and joined the team to destroy Jotunheim. Like King Shark, I was fond of Ratcatcher 2 because I thought Sebastian was adorable, and her relationship with him was so cute. I also like how powerful a huge group of rats can be. They are seen as tiny, useless creatures, but to Ratcatcher 2, they are a part of her. They protect her and help her survive, and Sebastian is an important companion to her. And that was the Suicide Squad.
Yay!
The second movie was very different from the first. I loved the humor, and I was pleasantly surprised by the violence and action. In my opinion, this movie is perfectly fine as a standalone film. You don't need to watch the first movie in order to understand the characters or the story. This was also my favorite movie of the two. This episode was not as gruesome as my past episodes, but these villains are still very dangerous and even vicious at times. I think the only way to really see that is from the source itself. So I highly recommend checking out the comic books where these characters originated from and checking out the new movie in theaters or on HBO Max. Thank you for checking in to May's Motel, and I hope you'll visit again next week.
Bye.